Howdy, folks. Welcome back to NiteBites. I'm your host, Clark Garen.
And I'm Denise Oliver, your co-host.
And while we were taking our break, I hear you finally remembered when you were accosted for driving while black.
It was not driving, it was parking. I was parked.
And you were in a car.
Yeah, I was in a car and the police officer shined his light on me and asked me to move. And I was like, yeah, if you move, I'll move. So, yeah, I felt singled out at that particular time, especially since I pulled into a space that a non-black person had just been in and had not been asked to move. So
you had to claim you're being discriminated against.
Yeah, by that particular officer, but I didn't file a claim against him. I just told him, what to do, and he went away.
You mean he got frightened of you?
Probably. I probably looked like an angry black woman or something.
Okay. Well, we're going to go back to where we were when I left. We were going to talk a little bit about faith and in terms of decisions of politicians.
Okay.
And I read a very enlightening article during the campaign in the New York Times about why the religious right didn't like John McCain.
Really?
And I found it fascinating. See, I never understood it because John McCain is a conservative. He is very much pro-life, always has been. He's pretty much right there on all their issues. But they never liked him. And then I read something that explained why. When he was shot down in Vietnam, he didn't think it was God's will. He thought it was because his airplane was hit by the gun from the North. And when he was kept in prison, he didn't think it was God's will. He thought it was because the North Vietnamese kept him in prison. Mm-hmm. And this is heresy to the religious right because they think God has to be responsible for everything. Every bad thing that happens to you is because God wants it to happen.
Wow.
And I've seen this all the way through. I've had clients who failed in business, and they failed because they were really stupid. And they go and they say, oh, well, I guess it's God's will. He's trying to teach me something. But they never figure out if he's trying to teach them something, it's to be smarter and do your own.
Yeah.
And so what I've come from that is that's probably the biggest failing of George W. Bush is this evangelical faith that whenever anything goes wrong, whether it's in Iraq or Katrina or anything else, whenever anything goes on, well, it was just God's will that this happened. Not because I'm a bumbling idiot, not because I didn't get good advice, not because I let Dick Cheney run everything.
You're right.
But because this is God's will for these things to happen. It prevents self-analysis.
Now, do you just think that, or have you actually heard him say that he believes that Katrina and everything like 9/11 was God's will?
No, I've heard him say that. You read the book by Bob Woodward, and he's quoted in that as going on that extensively.
As saying it was God's will.
Mm-hmm. All these things were God's will.
Well, that's pretty crazy.
That's frightening.
Yeah. It is.
And it's something, I mean, that's one of the reasons why Miss Sarah is so frightening. Not because she wears hooker boots, as you call them.
Hooker
but
boots.
Because, huh?
Yeah, hooker boots.
Hooker boots. It's because she's got this same philosophy that whatever happens, it's God's will. When Willow got pregnant, it wasn't because she was denied birth control and denied proper options other than abstinence. It was because, well, I guess it was God's will that, that she was going to have a child. Not that she had a parent who failed to understand the concept of raging hormones. Yeah.
I would have to agree. I think as a parent, for one thing, you have to do your job, and that's to educate your kids and teach them in the way that they should grow up.
Okay, now you are a evangelical Christian, are you not?
I am a Christian, yes.
Okay. Now, what do you think about the appropriateness of sex education for your teenage daughter?
I think it's absolutely appropriate. I mean, I want my daughter to have all the information that she could possibly have I've taught my daughter right from wrong. I've taught her right from wrong. And she knows the right and the wrong thing to do. Now, but it's still, it would be like giving a kid a loaded gun and telling them, okay, don't play with it. You know, come on. This is, you teach your kids right from wrong, but you have to give them all the information so that just in case they happen to turn out to be human beings like the rest of us, and they happen to make a mistake, they don't have to pay for it the rest of their lives. And that's what being a parent is. A parent is teaching your kids, educating your kids, not just going, okay, well, don't do that, and la la la, and go off about your own business with your little hooker boots on.
So you don't think abstinence only is a valid sex education program?
No, I don't. And I totally believe that marriage should be preserved or reserved for sex should be reserved for marriage. I do. I believe that, and I've taught my daughter that. But she's a human being. And what if she happens to make a mistake? You know?
Well, maybe it is a mistake. Maybe she just wants to get laid.
Hey, let's face it. I made that mistake. I got pregnant out of wedlock. I did the wrong thing. I was raised the right way, but I did the wrong thing, you know? You have to teach your kids.
Well, were you taught about birth control pills?
Yeah, but then it was like it was so shameful. You know, if you make something so shameful, nobody's going to actually come to you and engage you in a proper conversation because they're too ashamed to talk to you about it. They're hiding it. So they're going to sneak and do it, which is bad.
Yeah. So like, what would you do with your daughter about? Would you let her have easy access to birth control pills?
Well, actually, she has access to birth control pills now. I mean, she could go to the doctor right now if she wanted to and get them. Okay. As far as I know, who knows? She could be on them.
Okay.
But I know that as long as I've armed her, I've taught her, I've made sure that she had the education in school, I've made sure that we've had our talks, and that she knows that she can come to me because this is the real world that we live in. And we have to talk to one another. So
sounds like that would do a lot more for teen pregnancy than abstinence only.
Yeah, so far so good. I won't knock on the table, but
that's really I commend you. I really think that's it must have been hard for you to come to that too, because it sounds like what you're doing is a little different than what you were taught. But we're going to take a break and we'll explore that a little bit more when we come back. Please stay with us.